glad you're here. I am going to talk about my June and July reads. So let's get started. The first book is The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. This book, you know what? I realized in my first video, my 10 books to get to know me, I did not give you a single detail about what any of the books were about. Mostly that was because those are my favorite books of all time, and I may have read them a couple years ago, and I might not remember what they were about, but I watched it afterwards, and I thought that if someone was watching this and they wanted to know what a book was about, too dang bad. It's like, all right, queen, give us nothing. Anyway, this book, I don't want to tell you too much because the summary is like that big on the back, so I don't want to spoil what's not in the summary. But A.J. Fikry is a bookseller in this bookstore, so that itself, the cozy setting, was so cute and cozy. But in the beginning, he's kind of giving a man called Uwe vibes, where he's just like a grumpy old grump. I couldn't actually tell how old he was in the beginning of the book, but he turned out to be a young man, and his whole life was ahead of him, and this book kind of goes through that, but very quickly. I wanted it to be 3 times as long. I wanted Miss Kristen Hanna to get her hands on this storyline and just like chunk up this book to like here, because I love this story so much. It says that a mysterious package appears at the bookstore. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it was very cute. And it was a quick read. I would definitely recommend it. I just wish it was doubly as long, triply as long. I just wanted this story to go so much deeper into how everybody felt about all the stuff that happened in the story. Like, even just the story of him getting together with his person, I was just like, that was it! Anyway, it was still a 5-star read for me though, so I would recommend it. My next book is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This one was a 4-star read for me. Honestly, looking back, I may go a little bit lower, but it was interesting enough. It didn't win any awards for me. I thought with the title that it was going to completely blow my mind of the fact that none of this is true. I was like, when's the none of this is true part going to come in? And when it did, I was just like, guess none of that was true. It didn't go crazy like I wanted it to go crazy. I was interested, and at the end, I was definitely confused and a little dizzy when the whole none of this is true part came into play. But yeah, I'm not going to be screaming from the rooftops about this gal. If you like mysteries, go ahead. I guess I'm not a huge mystery reader, and sometimes mysteries make me a little bored. So maybe it's just me, but I didn't think this one was all that crazy. Basically, the premise of the book is that there's a popular podcaster and just a regular lady, and they kind of cross paths at a restaurant, both celebrating their 45th birthday, and they're like, oh my god, we're birthday twins. And a regular lady is like, hey, podcaster lady, make a podcast about me because I'm going to do something interesting. And then the interesting stuff that she does might be a little messed up. And most of the book is about the before part of everything up to that year 45. And she's an interesting lady. Slowly, she starts to realize that Josie is hiding some very dark secrets. Okay, a beef that I have about summaries of books that are found here or on the back on paperbacks is that there's always the word secrets in a summary. Every single book summary that you read will have the word secret in it. Everyone. Like, I'm going to read only books that don't have the word secret in the summary. Get creative, folks. Summarize the plot for me without telling me that there's a secret, because obviously there's something that I shouldn't be knowing, or else the book wouldn't be interesting if you told me everything right at the beginning. Even in my next book, spoiler, it says, Tully steeped in glamour and mystery, but with a secret that is destroying her. Like, I would not categorize this book as a book of secrets. I'll talk about it in a minute, but why does every summary have to have the word secret in it? Rant over. Now that's all you're going to think about when you're reading book summaries. You're welcome. Next is The Missing Half by Alex Keister and Ashley Flowers. I believe that one of them is a true crime person. Maybe? Hold on. Yes. So, Ashley Flowers is the author of All Good People Here and the host of the true crime podcast Crime Junkie. It says, the story follows two women, Nick Monroe and Jenna Connor, whose sisters have disappeared and they team up to find them. I'm just going to let Google do the summarizing because I don't think I'm very good at it. But it says, the novel explores themes of sisterhood, grief, and the lengths people will go to uncover the truth. I gave this book probably 3 stars, maybe even lower. My book club read this one. We did not fall in love with it. We all pretty much thought that the plot was just a little underdeveloped and juvenile, and the setup is interesting enough of 2 sisters going missing, but it was just a really unsatisfying plot development and mystery process, and the 2 sisters, they didn't seem very mature for their age. Their decision making was weird. I honestly would not recommend this book, to be fair. Next book is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, and this is actually the first book by her that I read. I know that it is in the same universe as another book of hers, but for me it didn't impact the plot all that much, other than it was the main character's brother, I'm pretty sure, that was in the previous book, and so they showed up a lot as a couple. I didn't really mind, but anyway, this book is about a girly pop who is like in a rut in her career and also in her life. Her grandmother just got a hip replacement and she's feeling depressed, and she's like, hey, we're both down and out. Let's go to that lake house that we went to when I was younger. And it's like a family friend's lake house, and they let her use it. And of course, who's there but Mr. Cutie Boy himself, Charlie. And I never remember characters' names. But this one I remembered because Homeboy's my new fictional crush, okay? I loved him so much. My book club read this book, and I think all of us loved it and loved him. We loved the flirting in this book. Let me just speak for myself. I loved how just like directly flirtatious it was and how cocky he was. I don't know. I found that really sweet and attractive. And he was just really direct with how he felt about himself and also how he felt about her. And that was really, really cute. The one thing though was it was a very creative and unexpected 3rd act breakup. And I didn't see it coming. My friend, however, has a copy of the book where the author put a letter to the reader explaining the 3rd act breakup, but then you read the whole book knowing it's a plot twist, I guess. It's also a plot twist. You read the whole book knowing through the lens why they're going to break up. And I'm glad I didn't have that, because that was my friend said it was a very different reading experience, that she knew the whole time what was going to happen. So anyway, I don't have this copy right now because my brother-in-law wanted to borrow it so that we could talk about it. I don't know if he actually finished it, but I let him keep it until he did. And he's never read a romance book before, but he said he wanted to. So that was funny. Okay, next is the other book of the summer, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I don't know where my copy is because I'm pretty sure I bought a signed edition. So if anyone is borrowing it, just let me know because I really don't know. I don't remember if I loaned it to somebody or not. So anyway, I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. I pray that I will always 5-star her books. She is an automatic buy for me every time. I'm sad that we had to wait so long since the last one, but I survived. So the premise of this book is that homegirl named Joan, I remember that one too. Joan, she applies to be a NASA astronaut. She was a professor of something in that realm, and then she applies to be an astronaut when they start letting women work for NASA and become astronauts, and you see her go through the whole training process, which is really cool. But the book opens up with a super tense scene that's going on a space mission, and so it's kind of alternating timelines between this scene. We have no idea how we got there and why it's so tense and what's going to happen or what led us to that point. And back in the timeline to her training to get to this point where she has this job now. And there's a love story in it, obviously. And the backdrop of just NASA and women in a male-led science STEM space, and the fact that the backdrop was literally space during the back and forth scenes of them on the space shuttle and something going wrong was very interesting. I did not expect this from TJR at all, and that's why it was super fun. One thing though is that sorry with this lighting. I'm dark back here, I'm bright up here. Anyway, I wanted this book to have like double the amount of depth that it did. I felt that she wrote simple sentences. I feel like she wrote very simplistically, but not in a way that was deep or satisfying. I felt that she wrote kind of like hyperbolic, and for example, saying like, the only time she felt like she could breathe was when she was looking at the stars. And I'm like, that tells me nothing. Like, that just doesn't feel very original. It honestly, that kind of writing for me feels like very, I don't want to say high school. I don't want to say that about my friend Taylor Jenkins Reid, but that's kind of what it felt like sometimes. And I do feel bad for saying that, but that's what it felt like. I was like, oh, come on. And I just wanted her to go deeper and more deeply explore the themes that were in this book, because the themes were so important. There was important themes in her love story and in her relationship, and there was important themes about women in a male-dominated space, and there were important themes about men accepting women into a female-dominated space, and there was this whole side plot of Joan's sister, who has a daughter, and their involvement in Joan's life and how that was like kind of toxic, and the daughter is her niece, but the mom's toxic and so relies on Joan and all this stuff. It just felt like it was very surface about all these things, and maybe she wanted me to draw my own conclusions, which I respect that as well, but I just wanted more. And I feel bad for saying that. I don't know why I feel bad, but I feel bad for saying that because I love TJR so much. But this one, the writing and the depth felt a little flat. I loved the plot, and I loved the setting and the backdrop, and the characters were so fun. But yeah, womp womp. I'm excited for her books to become movies if that ever, ends up happening. I feel like you hear so much about, this book's going to be turned into a movie, this book's blah, 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 blah. But then I'm like, where's my movie, girl? Where's it at? And it never actually happens. Wah, wah. My next book is Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. This is maybe my third or fourth Kristen Hanna book that I read, and I had to look up when she wrote this because the writing just felt so different. I think she wrote it in the early 2000s, so that was 20 years ago now. And I could just tell that her writing style was very different for this book than it was for something more recent, like The Women is one of my favorite top 10 books ever, and it was very, very different writing style wise. The themes are the same. I love her themes of, female friendship and loyalty and the things that you do when you are in crisis or just when life things happen or trauma happens, and what you decide and who you become based on that. I love her themes. I love them. This book did fall a little flat to me. I was bored for probably the first half of the book. It really didn't have a plot to me. Like, let me see if I can even give you a summary. Really, it's these two gals, Kate and Tully, and Kate is from a nice, good family, and Tully is from a addict mother and has that, you know, upbringing to a certain extent, and then has to live with her grandmother, and then gets dropped by her mom again. Not literally dropped. Dumped. The mom flies away, and she wants to be called Cloud, and she's on all these drugs and all these stuff. So it's about these two girls who become women in this very long story. And it's kind of just about their life. Nothing crazy happens, to be honest. And I don't think this is an unpopular opinion because I saw a lot of people saying this on Goodreads. To be honest, Tully annoyed me for most of the book. And if she was my friend, I don't know if I'd be her friend for all that life, for all those decades. I want to ask Chris and Hannah, I want to ask her what she thinks about these themes that she wrote about, has written about this whole time, and how she feels that these themes are aging in the era of, I don't know, cancel culture, cut them out culture, you know, you don't deserve that culture type of stuff, because the friendship in this book goes through a lot. And, you know, in our culture these days of, you know, protect your energy, all that stuff, I don't think this type of friendship would happen now. You know what I mean? I saw a lot of people on Goodreads saying that they would drop Tully in an instant. So it's an interesting topic. The last book that I read was our book club pick, which was The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. I don't like to rate nonfiction memoirs, stories about people's lives. I heard other people saying that, and I am on board with that practice of not rating real people's stories that they're telling about their lives. However, I didn't really enjoy this book all that much. The writing felt a little juvenile the whole way through. In the beginning, she is in her childhood, and she's writing like she's in her childhood, and that matched. But then in her adulthood, when she was, 19, 20, 25, and she was old enough to interpret and understand some of these more adult things that I think that she should be realizing at this point, she was still writing this first person recounting as if it was all just simple, fluffy little funny things that were happening when they weren't funny at all. And basically, the premise of this book is that Jeanette, story about her life, is born into this family that are essentially hopping from home to home and sort of choosing homelessness and poverty, and are definitely abusing their children in many situations and stories throughout these books. And they move from state to state, and they just get up and go because the dad always says that people are going to come after them, or they're going to find us or catch us or whatever. And so these kids never really get comfortable. They never really have a home. The roof over their head is sometimes not even a roof at all, and just a very scary way to be a child. And at points they were eating butter and cat food to sustain themselves. Like crazy, crazy abusive stuff. So I say abusive. If you read the story, you'll know why that I use that word. But anyway, yeah, it was tough to read. It made me sad. And I think in the same way that when I read literary fiction, I love how deep it is and how it's really a dissection of the human condition and the things that we experience and the traumas and the results and the feelings and the perspective that it gives us. I wanted her to write a book about the person she is on the other side of that, or the second half of the book to be the person she is on the other side of that. Like, I would love to sit in on one of her therapy sessions and hear about how all of those experiences impact her as an adult. Because her just describing, and then we were in the back of a truck for 15 hours while we drove across the country without any food, and we weren't allowed to talk. Like, I was like, those types of traumas have to show up in your adult life. I'm yelling. Those types of things have to show up in your adult life and in your relationship and your marriage and, just dealing with abusive parents and an addict as a parent and all this stuff. I wanted to know her interpretation of it as an adult as well, but that wasn't a part of the book. Anyway, those were my reads for June and July. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I will make another wrap for August and September, and I'll see you then.